Volvo. Volvo is, as we mentioned, one of the companies working with Apple on CarPlay. So, Thomas, how long has this been in the works? Tell me a little bit about coming to an agreement to do this with Apple.
Yeah, you know, we have a tech office actually sitting in California, so we are constantly in contact with the big tech offices of other companies, and we are screening the market. So I would say like roughly a year and a half ago, we started to do serious talking with Apple about this cooperation.
Now, tell me a little bit about how it's going to work, because it's not like Apple's technology is replacing the technology that you already have in the car. It's not really embedded in the car. It's simply hooking your iPhone up to the dash, right?
Yeah, we see it actually as a complementary offer, because you will always see like embedded navigation systems, telephony, media players, and so on, which we offer on our high car lines via the head unit, and then we will be able in the future to connect an iPhone via the Apple CarPlay, and by this getting a complementary offer of accessing your smartphone and playing some of the applications which are coming with a smartphone.
Now, this is territory that Google is going after, that Microsoft is going after, that BlackBerry is going after. Crawford, how is Apple approaching it differently than some of these other players?
Well, Apple's approaching it, forgive the term, but it's almost like an appification, if you will, where this is an application where data is being presented in the car. From a BlackBerry standpoint, they purchased a company called QNX. QNX, they have the operating system that the car is delivering and presenting to the driver. So this is a very, very different approach. I would just say that there's a word I haven't heard yet, which is exclusive. And I think that when you think about that, we're kind of at the preamble of this story. And I think you're going to see other suppliers trying to have their phone data presented to cars in the future. And it's really going to come down to a user preference issue.
Thomas, is it not exclusive, Thomas? I mean, can Google, can Microsoft, can BlackBerry come to you guys and say, we want to do this too?
Yes, I think there's two perspectives which you need to see in this game. And the perspective of the car maker is for sure that you have a couple of customers who are using a couple of different phone platforms. So, of course, we would like to have the possibility to offer every customer a similar experience. But then, for sure, it depends on how the different phone makers are doing the integration and which interface they are providing to us.
And Emily, if I could toss into, I think it's also worth noting that Apple's had a lot of these relationships for a long time just with the iPhone. I know that in some of the cars, there's Honda, for example, there's a phone book discovery system that will actually theoretically go through your phone book and find your contacts and put them into the car's nav system. So these companies have worked together for some time. This just takes it to a whole other level.
Crawford, how do you see, the landscape shaping up when it comes to Apple versus Google versus Microsoft versus BlackBerry? Is anyone ahead? Is this everyone's game at this point?
Well, we're at the beginning of a very long book. Apple is clearly ahead. I mean, obviously, Google's made some interesting plays with companies like Audi, and others. But Apple has, to Corey's point, has done a significant amount of work with these companies. But when you think about the ability to support different user tastes, when you think about the ability to support different operating systems and different applications, you have to believe that user preference is going to be huge here. So ultimately, what we're going to get to are that cars will support multiple environments through standard connections, which will likely be Wi-Fi, at least from what I'm reading about this announcement. So I think the landscape as it's shaping up. Go ahead.
This is something that I think drivers have wanted for a very long time. Thomas, why did it take so long to get to this point? Why did it take so long to get to this deal with Apple?
Well, it all starts on the phone maker side to define an interface which allows the car to kind of remotely control the phone. Because we are not just talking about projecting what you see on your smartphone just to a screen and have a read-only, but we are talking here about a bidirectional interface which allows actually the driver with the knobs and buttons in the car, or in our case with the touch screen, to operate features which are on the phone and kind of use the phone as a computer. And this interface needs to be well thought through. It is, well, I would say in the hands of the phone producer to define this interface. And then, well, on the mutual investigations which we have done, I think we have found a very good and a very compelling offering and a very good interface.
You know, Emily, if
Corey,
I can just
final thought.
well, one last thing. I think it's also interesting that within the announcement, we just saw that video showing how this works. They're opening this up to other apps as well. So it's an opportunity for companies like Spotify, which is in the demo, as well as iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Beats Radio, and others, to operate other kinds of apps. So this really does open up the development atmosphere for cars as a new place for Apple iOS.